In the depths of space, 17 light-years from Earth, something screamed for help. The distress signal cut through the cosmic silence like a knife through flesh, carrying with it the unmistakable signature of alien technology. But this wasn't just any signal. This was a cry of desperation that would change everything humanity thought they knew about their place in the galaxy. Admiral Sarah Chen stood in the command center of the UES Valiant, her weathered hands gripping the railing, as she stared at the holographic display before her. The blue light cast harsh shadows across her face, highlighting the worry lines that had deepened over her 30 years of service. Around her, the bridge hummed with urgent activity as her crew worked to decode the mysterious transmission. "Admiral," called Lieutenant Marcus Webb, his voice tight with tension. The young communications officer had been the first to detect the signal 3 hours ago, and his hands still trembled as he manipulated his console. "We've confirmed the source location. It's coming from the Kepler 442 system, specifically from the fourth planet." Chen's jaw tightened. Kepler 442b had been flagged as potentially habitable for decades, but no human had ever ventured that far into deep space. The journey would take months even with their fastest ships. If aliens were there and if they were in trouble, time was running out. "What's the signal's strength?" Chen asked, moving closer to Webb's station. "That's the strange part, Admiral. It's incredibly powerful. Whatever's sending this has technology far beyond our current capabilities. The signal should have degraded significantly over 17 light-years, but it's coming through as clear as if it originated from our own solar system." Dr. Elena Vasquez, the fleet's chief xenobiologist, looked up from her portable analysis unit. Her dark eyes were wide with excitement and fear. "Admiral, I've been analyzing the signal patterns. This isn't random. There are mathematical sequences embedded in the transmission. Prime numbers, the Fibonacci sequence, even what appears to be atomic weights. Someone, or something, is trying to communicate with us." Chen felt the weight of command settle on her shoulders like a familiar burden. In her 3 decades of military service, she had faced countless crises, but nothing had prepared her for this moment. First contact had always been theoretical, something discussed in late-night strategy sessions and academic papers. Now it was real, and it was happening on her watch. "Can we determine what they're saying?" she asked. Dr. Vasquez shook her head. "Not yet. But Admiral, there's something else. The signal isn't just mathematical. There are sections that sound almost emotional, like whoever's sending this is afraid." The bridge fell silent except for the low hum of the ship's systems. Chen closed her eyes for a moment, weighing her options. Earth's deep space fleet consisted of 12 ships, scattered across 3 star systems. The Valiant was the flagship, but even with their advanced technology, they were explorers, not warriors. Yet something in that alien signal spoke to her. Military instincts. This wasn't just a greeting. This was a call for help. "Sir," interrupted Commander Jake Reynolds, Chen's second-in-command. His broad shoulders and scarred face spoke of years spent in the asteroid belt conflicts, and his voice carried the authority of someone who had seen real combat. "We're receiving new transmissions from Fleet Command. They're ordering us to maintain position and wait for reinforcements." Chen studied the tactical display. The nearest fleet assets were days away, and that was assuming they departed immediately. In space, time was always the enemy, and she had a feeling that whatever was happening in the Kepler 442 system couldn't wait for bureaucracy. "Admiral," Webb called out again, his voice cracking with urgency. "The signal's changing. It's getting weaker." Dr. Vasquez looked up from her console, her face pale. "If the power source is failing, or if whoever's sending this is..." She didn't finish the sentence, but everyone on the bridge understood. Chen made her decision. "Commander Reynolds, set course for the Kepler 442 system. Maximum burn. Lieutenant, Webb, send a message to Fleet Command. Tell them we're investigating a potential first contact scenario and will maintain communication as long as possible." "Admiral," Reynolds said quietly, "orders are orders. Command wants us to wait." Chen turned to face him, her gray eyes hard as steel. "Commander, somewhere out there an alien civilization is crying for help. In my book, that takes precedence over sitting on our hands while bureaucrats debate policy." Are you with me? Reynolds studied her face for a long moment, then nodded. Always, Admiral. Helm set course for Kepler 442. All hands prepare for extended burn. The Valiant's massive engines roared to life, pushing the ship toward the edge of known space. Behind them, the safety of human civilization fell away, replaced by the vast unknown of deep space. As the ship accelerated, Chen couldn't shake the feeling that they were crossing more than just physical distance. They were crossing a threshold, entering a new chapter in human history. But what they would find in the Kepler 442 system would test not just their courage, but their very understanding of what it meant to be human in a universe that was far more dangerous than they had ever imagined. The alien signal continued to pulse through space, a lighthouse in the cosmic dark, calling them forward into the unknown. And with each passing hour, it grew weaker. Chapter 2. The Discovery 7 days into their journey toward Kepler 442, the UES Valiant was no longer alone. Admiral Chen stood before the main display in the ship's war room, watching as 11 more human vessels materialized from hyperspace jumps. The sight should have been reassuring, but the growing fleet only emphasized the magnitude of what they were facing. Fleet Command had mobilized nearly every available ship, from heavy cruisers to research vessels, all converging on a single point in space where an alien civilization had called for help. "Final ship reporting in, Admiral," announced Commander Reynolds as he entered the war room. "The UES Pacifica just dropped out of hyperspace. Captain Torres sends his regards and asks for immediate briefing." Chen nodded, her attention still focused on the tactical display. 12 human ships representing the pinnacle of Earth's technology, racing toward a mystery that could redefine their place in the universe. "Status on the alien signal?" Dr. Vasquez looked up from her workstation, her face showing the strain of a week spent trying to decode an impossible puzzle. "It's still transmitting, but barely. Power levels have dropped by 60% since we first detected it. At this rate, we'll lose it completely within 48 hours. Any progress on translation?" "Some. We've identified what appears to be numerical sequences related to their star system. Planetary positions, orbital mechanics, that sort of thing. But Admiral, there's something else. Something that's been bothering me since day one." Chen turned to face the xenobiologist. "Go on." "The signal isn't random, and it isn't just a distress call. It's specifically directed toward our solar system. Whoever's sending this knows exactly where Earth is, and they're calling to us deliberately." The implications hit Chen like a physical blow. If an alien civilization knew Earth's location, it meant they had been watching humanity for some time. The question was, why reach out now, and why with a distress signal? "Admiral," Lieutenant Webb's voice crackled through the comm system. "We're receiving priority transmission from the UES Darwin. Captain Mitchell says they've detected something on long-range sensors." Chen activated the main communication channel. "Captain Mitchell, this is Admiral Chen. What's your status?" The voice that came through the speakers was tense. "Admiral, we've got multiple contacts on the edge of the Kepler 442 system. They're big, and they're not ours." The war room fell silent. Chen felt her heart rate increase as she processed the information. "Clarify big, Captain." "Each contact is roughly 3 kilometers in length. We're detecting at least 7 distinct signatures, possibly more. They're not moving, but they're definitely artificial. Admiral, I think we've found our aliens, but they're not alone." Dr. Vasquez moved to her console, her fingers flying over the controls. "If there are multiple alien vessels in the system, and one of them is sending a distress signal, then we might be looking at a conflict situation." Commander Reynolds stepped forward. "Admiral, if there's a war going on in that system, we need to consider the possibility that we're flying into the middle of it." Chen studied the tactical display, her mind racing through the possibilities. 7 alien ships, each larger than any human vessel ever built, one of them calling for help, the others presumably hostile. It was a scenario that had kept military strategists awake at night for decades. "Com, get me a direct line to all ship commanders," she ordered. "We need a strategy session, and we need it now." 30 minutes later, Chen found herself facing a holographic conference table surrounded by the commanders of humanity's deep space fleet. 11 other officers, each representing hundreds of crew members and the hopes of an entire species. Captain Maria Santos of the UES Endeavour spoke first. "Admiral, my science team has been analyzing the sensor data from the Darwin. Those alien ships are using some form of energy shielding we've never seen before. We can't get accurate readings on their weapons or defensive capabilities." "What about the distress signal?" asked Captain David Park of the UES Horizon. "Do we have any indication which ship is sending it?" Dr. Vasquez's voice came through the comm system from her lab. "Based on signal triangulation, it's coming from a ship that appears to be damaged. Long-range scans show debris fields around one of the contacts. It looks like there's been a battle." Chen absorbed the information, feeling the weight of command pressing down on her. "Recommendations?" Captain Torres of the UES Pacifica, a grizzled veteran of the Outer Rim conflicts, leaned forward. "Admiral, we're outnumbered and outgunned by technology we don't understand. Standard protocol would be to maintain distance and attempt communication. But if one of those ships is in distress," interrupted Captain Mitchell, "and the others are responsible for that distress, then we might be looking at our first contact being with hostile aliens who just finished destroying another alien civilization." The conference room erupted in discussions as the commanders debated courses of action. Chen let them talk for a few minutes, then raised her hand for silence. "The way I see it, we have 3 options. 1. Maintain distance and observe. 2. Attempt communication with all parties. 3. Move to assist the ship in distress." "Admiral," said Captain Santos, "with respect, option 3 could be seen as an act of aggression by the other ships. We could be starting an interstellar war." Chen nodded. "That's possible, but there's something else to consider. The distress signal was specifically directed at Earth. Someone out there knows who we are and where we come from. If we don't respond to a call for help when we have the capability to do so, what does that say about humanity?" Commander Reynolds, who had been silent throughout the discussion, finally spoke up. "Admiral, what if this is a test? What if whoever sent that signal is evaluating how we respond to a crisis?" The question hung in the air like a challenge. Chen looked around the table at the faces of her fellow commanders, seeing her own doubts and fears reflected in their expressions. Each of them had sworn an oath to protect humanity. But how did that oath apply when humanity's first contact with alien life involved choosing sides in a conflict they didn't understand? "I need a few hours to think," Chen said finally. "Maintain current formation and continue monitoring all alien vessels. I want contingency plans for all 3 options ready by 0800 tomorrow." As the commanders signed off one by one, Chen remained in the war room, staring at the tactical display. Somewhere ahead of them, in the darkness between stars, alien civilizations were locked in a conflict that could reshape everything humanity thought they knew about the universe. And in less than 48 hours, the distress signal would fall, silent forever. The decision she made in the next few hours wouldn't just determine the fate of an unknown alien species. It would define humanity's first impression on the galactic stage, and possibly determine whether Earth would face the future as a friend or an enemy to the stars. Chapter 3. First contact. 24 hours later, Admiral Chen stood on the bridge of the UES Valiant as her fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Kepler 442 system. What they found waiting for them defied every expectation. The 7 alien ships hung in space like sleeping giants, their hulls reflecting the distant star's light in patterns that seemed to shift and flow. Each vessel was massive beyond human comprehension, easily dwarfing Earth's largest space stations. But it was the 8th ship that drew everyone's attention, a broken hulk trailing debris and atmosphere, its hull split open like a cracked egg. "My God!" whispered Lieutenant Webb, his voice barely audible over the bridge's communication systems. Dr. Vasquez looked up from her scanner readings, her face pale. "Admiral, I'm detecting life signs from the damaged vessel. Faint, but definitely. There." Chen felt her heart racing as she studied the tactical display. The 7 intact alien ships showed no signs of movement, their weapons systems, if they had any, remaining dormant. It was as if they were waiting for something. "Distance to the damaged ship?" she asked. 12,000 kilometers and closing," replied the helmsman. "Any response from the other vessels?" Commander Reynolds shook his head. "Nothing. They're not even scanning us. It's like we're invisible to them." Suddenly, the main communication array came alive with a burst of activity. Lieutenant Webb's hands flew over his controls as he tried to isolate the signal. "Admiral, we're receiving a transmission. It's in English." The bridge fell silent. Chen felt the universe shift around her as she realized what Webb had just said. "Put it through." The voice that came through the speakers was weak, strained, but unmistakably speaking Earth's language. "Human vessels, this is Commander Zara of the Kepler Research Station. We've been monitoring your transmissions for 17 years. Please, you have to help us." Chen exchanged glances with Commander Reynolds before responding. "Commander Zara, this is Admiral Chen of the United Earth Fleet. We received your distress signal. What is your situation?" "The hegemony found us. They've been hunting us across the galaxy, and we thought we were safe here. But they followed us. My people are dying, Admiral. Our ship is failing and we can't hold out much longer. Dr. Vasquez was frantically working at her station, running scans of the damaged alien vessel. Admiral, I'm detecting humanoid life signs. Whatever these beings are, they're biologically similar to us." "Commander Zara," Chen said into the communicator, "what is the hegemony, and why are they hunting you?" The response came after a long pause, filled with what sounded like labored breathing. "The hegemony believes that intelligence should be controlled, unified under their rule. Any species that refuses to submit is marked for extinction. We are the last of our kind, Admiral. The last free voices in this part of the galaxy." Chen looked around the bridge at her crew's faces, seeing her own shock reflected in their expressions. Humanity's first contact with alien life wasn't just a meeting of civilizations. It was an encounter with refugees fleeing genocide. "What about the other ships?" she asked. "Are they hegemony vessels?" "Yes. 7 battle cruisers. They're waiting for us to die. Their sensors tell them our ship is failing, so they don't need to waste ammunition. They're patient. They've been patient for a very long time." Commander Reynolds moved to Chen's side. "Admiral, if what this Commander Zara is saying is true, we're looking at our first contact being with both victims and perpetrators of genocide." Chen nodded grimly. "Commander Zara, how many survivors do you have aboard your vessel?" 43. "Of my people. We're scientists, Admiral. Researchers. We've been studying your species for years, hoping that when first contact came, it would be with beings who valued knowledge and freedom. Please, don't let us have been wrong." The weight of the moment settled on Chen's shoulders like a physical burden. In the space of a few minutes, humanity had gone from being alone in the universe to being faced with a choice that would define their role in galactic civilization: save the refugees and potentially declare war on a powerful alien empire, or stand aside and watch genocide unfold. "Admiral," Dr. Vasquez called out, "I'm detecting energy buildup from the hegemony ships. They're powering weapons systems." Lieutenant Webb looked up from his station, his face grim. "Ma'am, we're receiving a transmission from the lead hegemony vessel. It's also in English." Chen closed her eyes for a moment, then opened them with resolve. "Put it through." The voice that filled the bridge was cold, mechanical, and utterly without emotion. "Human vessels, you have entered a restricted system. The criminals aboard the damaged ship are enemies of galactic order. Withdraw immediately, or be classified as enemies of the hegemony. This is Admiral Chen of the United Earth Fleet," she responded. "We're responding to a distress call. We have no quarrel with you. Your response to criminal distress makes you criminals. You have 60 seconds to withdraw. After that, you will be destroyed along with the refugees you seek to protect." The Roisha communication cut off, leaving the bridge in tense silence. Chen looked around at her crew, seeing fear, determination, and trust in their eyes. These people had followed her across 17 light years into the unknown, and now they were asking her to make a decision that could determine the fate of two species. "Admiral," Commander Reynolds said quietly, "we have 11 ships. They have 7, but their technology is clearly superior to ours." "Commander Zara," Chen said into the communicator, "can your people be transported to our ships?" "Yes, but our ship will need to drop shields for transport. If the hegemony fires during the evacuation..." Chen didn't need her to finish. Without shields, the damaged alien ship would be defenseless, and her people would die with their rescuers. "All ships, this is Admiral Chen," she announced over the fleet communication system. "We're about to engage in our first interstellar rescue operation. I won't lie to you, the odds aren't in our favor. But 43 beings are about to die unless we act. They're beings who value knowledge, freedom, and peaceful contact. They're beings who spent 17 years learning our language so they could talk to us when we finally met. I think they're worth fighting for." She paused, then continued. "Any ship that wants to withdraw has my permission to do so. This is not an order. This is a choice." One by one, the ship commanders responded. Not a single vessel broke formation. 30 seconds, Admiral," Lieutenant Webb announced. Chen took a deep breath. "All ships, move to defensive positions around the damaged alien vessel. Prepare to engage hegemony forces on my mark." As the human fleet moved into position, Chen couldn't help but wonder if they were about to start humanity's first interstellar war. But as she looked at the damaged alien ship and thought about the 43 refugees inside, she knew she had made the only choice she could live with. "This is Admiral Chen to all hegemony vessels," she announced. "The beings on that ship are under our protection. If you want them, you'll have to go through us." The response was immediate. 7 massive alien warships turned their weapons toward the small human fleet, and the darkness of space was about to be lit by the fires of war. Chapter 4. The Battle. For tomorrow, the first shot came without warning. A lance of pure energy erupted from the lead hegemony vessel, streaking across space toward the UES Darwin. Captain Mitchell's ship rolled desperately to port, the beam missing by mere meters and continuing into the void. The near miss sent ripples of superheated plasma across the Darwin's shields, and Admiral Chen realized with cold clarity that a direct hit would have vaporized the ship instantly. "All ships, evasive maneuvers," Chen shouted into the fleet comm. "Target their weapon systems, not their hulls. We need to disable, not destroy." The space around Kepler 442b erupted into chaos as 12 human ships engaged 7 alien behemoths. The hegemony vessels moved with surprising grace for their size, their weapon systems tracking multiple targets with computer precision. But the human fleet had something the aliens didn't expect: unpredictability. Commander Reynolds coordinated the battle from the Valiant's tactical station, his voice calm despite the madness around them. Endeavour and Pacifica flank left. Darwin and Horizon, attack pattern Delta. All other ships, cover the refugee vessel. The UES Endeavour, under Captain Santos, dove beneath the hegemony formation, its pulse cannons sending streams of accelerated particles into the alien ship's lower hull sections. The weapons had little effect on the massive vessels, but they served their purpose, drawing fire away from the damaged refugee ship. "Admiral," Dr. Vasquez called out from her station, "I'm reading massive power fluctuations from the refugee vessel. Their life support is failing faster than expected." Chen divided her attention between the battle raging around them and the desperate evacuation taking place. Through the main view screen, she could see the broken alien ship, its hull breached in dozens of places, atmosphere venting into space like glowing streams of light. Commander Zara's voice crackled through the comm system, barely audible over the interference from the battle. "Admiral, my people are ready for transport, but we need 30 seconds to drop our shields completely." 30 seconds we don't have," Reynolds muttered as he watched a hegemony beam weapon sweep across the space where the UES Horizon had been moments before. Chen made a decision that would haunt her for years to come. All ships converge on the refugee vessel. Full defensive posture. We're buying them 30 seconds, whatever it costs. What followed was perhaps the most desperate 30 seconds in human history. 11 ships, explorers and researchers, not warships, threw themselves between the hegemony fleet and a dying alien vessel. The UES Pacifica took a direct hit to its starboard engine section, the explosion sending debris spinning into space. The UES Phoenix lost its main communication array to a near miss that left its hull glowing red-hot, but they held the line. As the refugee ship's shields dropped, transport beams began moving survivors to the human vessels. Chen watched the process, on her tactical display, counting down the seconds as her fleet absorbed punishment from weapons that could have cracked moons. "Transport complete," announced Lieutenant Webb. "All survivors are aboard our ships." "All ships, withdraw to safe." "Distance," Chen ordered. "Pattern Epsilon, maximum burn." The human fleet scattered like leaves in a hurricane, their smaller size and superior maneuverability finally giving them an advantage. The hegemony ships pursued, but their massive bulk made them slow to turn, and the humans had bought themselves precious time. As the immediate danger passed, Chen found herself face to face with humanity's first alien refugee. Commander Zara stood in the Valiant's medical bay, and despite her exhaustion and injuries, she was unmistakably alien. Her skin had a faint blue tint, and her eyes were larger than human eyes, with an inner light that seemed to shift like aurora. But when she spoke, her voice carried the same mixture of gratitude and sorrow that Chen had heard in human refugees from Earth's various conflicts. "Admiral Chen, we owe you our lives, but I fear you may have doomed your entire species." Chen sat down across from the alien commander, feeling the weight of exhaustion and responsibility. "Tell me about the hegemony. What are we really dealing with?" Zara's large eyes seemed to look through Chen to some distant, terrible memory. "They are what happens when a single species decides that diversity is inefficient. They've been expanding across the galaxy for over 1,000 years, absorbing or destroying every civilization they encounter. They don't negotiate. They don't compromise. They simply conquer." "How many species have they destroyed?" "We estimate over 200 sentient civilizations. My people, the Kalari, held out for 3 centuries before our final fleet was scattered. I commanded the last research vessel, dedicated to finding new civilizations that might stand against the hegemony." Chen felt a chill run down her spine. "That's why you were watching Earth. You were looking for allies." "Yes." "And Admiral, what you did today, choosing to fight for strangers, risking your lives for beings you'd never met. That gives me hope. But the hegemony now knows about Earth. They know about humanity, and they will come for you." Before Chen could respond, the ship's alert systems began blaring. Lieutenant Webb's voice came through the comm system, tight with panic. "Admiral, we've got incoming. Multiple hyperspace signatures. It's a lot of them." Chen and Zara rushed to the bridge where the tactical display showed a sight that made Chen's heart sink. Dozens of hegemony vessels were dropping out of hyperspace at the edge of the system. A full invasion fleet, called by the distress signals of the 7 ships they had just battled. "How many?" Chen asked, though she dreaded the answer. 47 ships, Admiral. All of them larger than the ones we just fought." Commander Zara studied the tactical display with the eye of someone who had fought the hegemony for centuries. "Admiral, this is a subjugation fleet. They're not here just to destroy the refugees. They're here to follow you home and conquer Earth." The weight of that realization hit Chen like a physical blow. In trying to save 43 alien refugees, humanity might have condemned their entire species to slavery or extinction. "Admiral," Commander Reynolds said quietly, "recommend we withdraw immediately. If we run now, we might be able to stay ahead of them long enough to warn Earth." But Zara shook her head. "Commander, the hegemony has been tracking your ships since you arrived. They know the location of your home system. Running won't save Earth. It will only delay the inevitable." Chen stared at the tactical display, watching as the massive hegemony fleet began moving toward them with the inexorable patience of a cosmic glacier. 47 ships against 12 battered human vessels. It wasn't a battle. It would be a massacre. Unless... "Commander Zara," Chen said slowly, You said your people studied us for 17 years. What did you learn about humanity that made you think we could stand against the hegemony? Zara's alien features shifted into what might have been a smile. Admiral, you just demonstrated it. In the face of overwhelming odds, when you could have run, you chose to fight for strangers. That's not just courage. That's something the hegemony has never encountered. They've spent 1,000 years conquering species that fight for their own survival. They've never faced a species that fights for others. Chen felt a spark of something. That might have been hope. What are you suggesting? There are 17 other Kalari research vessels scattered across this sector of the galaxy. Each one carries refugees from different civilizations, the last survivors of species the hegemony has destroyed. If we could reach them, if we could unite them with your fleet, we'd have an alliance, Chen finished. Multiple species working together. Something the hegemony has never faced. Something they're not prepared for. Chen looked around the bridge at her crew, seeing the same desperate hope she felt reflected in their eyes. It was insane. It was impossible. It was also their only chance. How long do we have before that fleet reaches us? She asked. 6 hours, Reynolds replied. And how long to reach the nearest Kalari vessel? Zara consulted a device that looked like crystallized light. 4 hours if we leave immediately. Chen made her decision. All ships, this is Admiral Chen. We're not running home to Earth. We're running toward the future. Today, humanity becomes part of something larger than ourselves. Today we become part of a galactic alliance. As the human fleet jumped to hyperspace, leaving the hegemony ships behind, Chen couldn't help but wonder if they were fleeing to safety or racing toward an even greater danger. But for the first time since the crisis began, she felt something. Besides fear, she felt hope. Epilogue: The Alliance. 6 months later, Admiral Chen stood on the observation deck of the UES Unity, a ship that had never been built in Earth's shipyards. The Unity was a fusion of human engineering and alien technology, created through the combined efforts of 17 different species, all refugees, all survivors, all united by a common enemy and a shared dream of freedom. Through the deck's transparent aluminum viewport, she could see the fleet that had grown from her original 12 ships. Over 300 vessels now moved in formation through hyperspace, each one representing a different world, a different people, a different chapter in the hegemony's 1,000-year reign of terror. Commander Zara approached, her movements still, graceful despite the gravity differences between her homeworld and the ship's human standard environment. Over the past 6 months, she had become more than an ally. She had become a friend, a bridge between humanity and the galaxy beyond. The latest reports from the forward scouts, Zara said, handing Chen a data pad that displayed information in 17 different languages and mathematical systems. The hegemony has committed over 2,000 ships to hunting our alliance. They're calling us the Freedom Plague, Chen smiled grimly. I've been called worse things. What's our status? Better than we hoped. The Vorthan contributed their shield technology. The Nexari provided their weapons systems. The Crystalline Collective shared their hyperspace navigation techniques. And the humans? Zara paused, her large eyes reflecting the starlight streaming through the viewport. The humans provided something none of us had, which is the willingness to fight for strangers. Admiral, in the 6 months since the Battle of Kepler 442, we've rescued over 10,000 refugees from 18 different hegemony prison worlds. Each rescue was led by human ships, crewed by humans who risked their lives for beings they'd never met. Chen nodded, remembering each of those missions. The raid on Hegemony Station 7, where they'd freed 300 aquatic collective members from atmospheric torture chambers. The desperate evacuation of the Solarian homeworld's last city, where human marines had held the line against hegemony. Ground forces for 18 hours. The rescue of the Kalari nursery ships carrying the next generation of Zara's people. Each mission had cost them ships and lives, but each mission had also added new allies to their cause. Admiral, Zara continued, there's something else. We've been monitoring hegemony communications and there are signs of dissent. Some of their subjugated species are beginning to rebel. They're calling it The human effect. Chen raised an eyebrow. The human effect? The idea that it's possible to fight back, that the hegemony isn't invincible. Admiral, your species has done something in 6 months that we thought was impossible. You've given the galaxy hope. Through the viewport, Chen could see Earth in the distance, a small blue dot that had become the unofficial capital of the most unlikely alliance in galactic history. The planet was now protected by defensive stations built with alien technology, its population working alongside refugee species to build weapons and ships for the continuing war against the hegemony. But, more importantly, Earth had become a symbol, a world that had chosen to fight for others rather than hide in safety, a species that had looked at genocide and said, "No more." "Admiral," came Lieutenant Webb's voice through the comm system. "We're receiving a priority transmission from the Andorian front. General Morrison reports that the hegemony's 4th Fleet has retreated from the Rigel system. The locals are calling it the first major hegemony defeat in over a century." Chen felt a spark of satisfaction. General Morrison had been a skeptic at first, questioning whether humanity should risk everything for alien refugees. But when the hegemony had attacked the Centauri colonies, he had led the defense himself, fighting alongside Kalari tacticians and Vorthon shield operators. "Any word from Earth?" Chen asked. "President Martinez sends her regards and asks if you're ready to come home for the Unity Day celebrations." Chen considered the question. Unity Day, the anniversary of the Battle of Kepler 442, had become an interspecies holiday, celebrated on hundreds of worlds by dozens of different civilizations. It marked not just humanity's first contact with alien life, but the birth of the Galactic Freedom Alliance. "Tell the President I'll be there," Chen said, "but only for a few days. We have work to do." As the UES Unity dropped out of hyperspace, near Earth, Chen reflected on how much had changed in 6 months. Humanity was no longer alone in the universe. They were part of something greater, a coalition of free species standing against tyranny and oppression. The war with the hegemony was far from over. It might take years, even decades, to liberate all the enslaved civilizations under their rule. But for the first time in over 1,000 years, the galaxy had something it had almost forgotten: hope. And at the center of that hope was a species that had learned the most important lesson in the universe, that true strength comes not from conquest, but from the willingness to fight for others. In the depths of space, the hegemony's ancient empire was beginning to crack, and through those cracks, the light of freedom was beginning to shine. The age of galactic tyranny was ending. The age of alliance had begun. End of story.